Hey, this is Will Sinclair. You're listening to The Real Truth About You, episode 46. I want to ask you a question. How busy is your life? How much noise is in your life right now?
Welcome to the show.
Hey, well, like I said, my name is Will Sinclair, and you're listening to The Real Truth About You. We want to help you to become the best, most amazing person that you can be. And we want to do that through inspiring stories, through insights, and just learning more about how to get to the real depth of who you are. Well, one of the things last podcast I did, I have to say that I tried this exercise where I was clapping my hands, and I think it was a really good example, and I've used it quite a number of times. And one of the things that it represents is the noise in your life. Like if I was to sit and clap my hands all the time like this, would you be able to really truly hear me all the time? It's really hard and difficult. Wow, that's annoying. Yeah, so that's like the noise that's in your life right now, or it could be in your life right now. And one of the things that you need to get to a point in your life is to be able to listen to your body talk to you, to be able to listen to your God talk to you. You need to slow down that clapping until in between each clap, in between each thought, in between each trip out to the grocery store, or each trip out to, hockey or football, or wherever it is your sport is, or wherever your activity is with your kids or with yourself. You need to get to that point in your life where you slow down enough that you can hear. And it's one of the biggest things that I keep talking about. I was thinking about my life recently, and I've always wanted to be a pilot ever since I was a little kid. Never did, but I was showing my wife, there was a movie on, and there was one of these big cargo planes, and it seems like you want to turn it, and you turn that wheel, that yoke, and 10 minutes later the wings start to turn. It's so big and it's so bulky, and I'm just attracted to slow things. And I never wanted to be a fighter pilot. I wanted to fly big old planes. And when it comes to boats, I'm also interested in slower moving boats. I love kayaks. I love paddle boats, those kind of things. I like rowboats. Not that I don't go in speed boats or fast things. My wife here in Canada, for those of you who are not in Canada, we have these things called snowmobiles, and they fly across, not fly, they've got a track on them and skis on the front. You use the skis to direct you which direction you're going to go, and you sit on it almost like a motorbike, and you can go like zooming across the snow. And we had some family here on the weekend, and they had a snowmobile. And so we used this snowmobile. My wife jumped on the front, and she just loves those kind of things. And we went zipping across the lake, and it was nice. It was fun, but I just have to reminisce about how beautiful it was to be on the lake when it wasn't frozen, and I'm in my kayak. And the amount of time it took to get over the lake to the other side, to this nice serene spot that I go to, I took no time at all in the skidoo when the lake was frozen and it's just packed with ice and snow. And it took maybe like 5 minutes to get there, whereas it takes me like at least 25 minutes to get there on my kayak. And yet there's something about the slowness, and that's my life. I love slow. I love stillness. So for me to slow my life down to, smell the roses is probably a lot easier than it is for a lot of people. And my wife was one of those people who's like a social party person. I'm not saying she's like at parties all the time, but that she just loves being with people, and she loves the activities of being with people. And that kind of stuff. And so for her, it was always a little bit harder to slow down your life. But yet she felt the need for it in her life. And it's something you need to do. If you want to really experience life, if you want to be able to have that state of life, that conscious state of life where you carry peace with you wherever you go, where you carry strength wherever you go, and all inner strength, inner peace, inner joy, right? Abundant love that asks for nothing in return. All that comes from within. And to be able to reach that power that's within you, to be able to reach that light that's within you, to be able to reach that inner peace that's already in you, you need to get to a point in your life where you slow your life down. And it's what we do with our mind too. We try to slow our mind down. It's so full of thoughts. If you were to sit down right now and sit in the silence, how many would be able to do it? Some of you absolutely could. And some of you absolutely love it. And that's, your life is like that. Your life is like me, where you just adore that stillness. You almost crave it. But yet I also find in that stillness and that craving, I also find myself thinking a lot of thoughts. I find myself, thinking about 1,000,001 things. And someone just said to me recently that they find it really hard to meditate because their mind is constantly going. And yet, when you try to quiet your mind, when you try to put that tool, that important tool that is your mind, but it's just a tool, when you try to put that tool down, sometimes it wants to resist. It wants to resist because it's so active every day, all day. There's thoughts coming in and out. When you're driving in your vehicle, you're thinking about people, you're thinking about activities, you're thinking about even the aspect of driving, which you need to do. But you need, when you come into that place of quiet, you really need to slow your life down. It's really hard with kids. I remember, and I think I've said this before, I remember this young woman, when I was 21, came up to me and because I was with a group of people in this church, and she said, I've got little kids and I don't know what to do because I just can't seem to get that 5 minutes alone. I can't seem to get that quiet time. And me and my wisdom of never having a kid in my life and never being, a parent or anything like that, I remember saying to her, take that time in the bathroom. When you get that 5 minutes, close that door. And for some of you can. But when I started having little kids, you can't close that door because you know what? You don't know what they're up to. So you leave the door open, the next thing they're crawling all around you and crawling on top of the pot and on top of your shoulders and all kinds of stuff, right? So it's really difficult sometimes to get that quiet time. But the generality is to slow your life down a little bit. Is there a point where you can just slow something down, right? I remember when I was writing a novel, and the only time we had 4 kids, so 6 of us in a small 900 square foot house with no basement, no upstairs, no downstairs. And I remember that we had so much noise going on and so much activity. The kids were in dance or sports or whatever they were into, and with your jobs and everything, you're always running all over the place. And for me to write, I had to get up at like 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd have to go out to the garage, which was across our backyard, and I would have to sit and write for an hour or two in that quietness. But that's how I learned, at that point in my life anyway, how to slow my life down. I learned at that point how to take my life and take a chunk of that time in the 24 hours of the day that I had available to me and find a time where I could slow it down enough to sit. And at that time, I used it for writing. Now, we're empty nesters. I have to say it's a lot easier for me to find the time because our kids are up and they're gone. They're grown up. They're gone. And so it's just my wife and I, and she actually works a second job outside of the home, as well as the job that we do here at the camp. We run a kids camp, and we have a year-round retreat house on it. So when it's not summertime, it's in the winter off season, we run this retreat house, and we have people coming to it, and so we look after that. And so, but she's gone during the day. She's super busy in the summer here at the camp, but during the week, during the off season, she's gone to another job, and that's how we survive. But anyway, I have lots of time on my hands, and as far as quiet time goes, right? Because I'm alone at home, and so I have that opportunity, and I'm really blessed to have that opportunity. But it's so easy within that to become so bogged down with things to do. You can sit and you can, even when you're in a quiet space, you can find other things to do. And you're always constantly seeking and finding something to do. And that's what I find with my life sometimes, is I don't take that time. I try and I find that time. But it's hard because my mind is trained to keep overworking, to keep thinking, to keep finding activities. We are a people who tend to, we see achievement done through doing, not through just being. And that's one of the big things I've found about this life. We talk about people who are doctors and do amazing jobs, and we tend to glorify that position. And I'm not discrediting anybody who's smart or a doctor or an astronaut, and we look at, say, I worked as a janitor, and we will say things like, all the way from a doctor to a janitor, and we think we're going from the top to the bottom, rather than thinking we're all in the same level playing field. At least that's how I see it a lot of times. And so we seem to think that in our life, doing is the answer and achieving is the answer, where in fact that's not what it's about at all. Being is the answer. And the only way to be, to just be, to achieve all that inner peace and everything that's within you already, the only way to just be is to slow your life down. To slow your life down to that point where you can just sit. And whether that sitting and being is in a restaurant lineup, or whether it's in an arcade, or whether it's in the grocery store, or wherever that being is, once you've learned to slow your life down, and I'm not talking about stop taking your kids to sports, stop taking this and this and this. Some people, you get so busy, but really look at your life. Do you have to be involved in all those committees? Do you have to be involved in all that volunteer activity? Do you have to have your kids in everything under the planet so that they have every advantage in life? Because if you are training, I'm going to be point blank here. If you have your kids so involved that finding quiet time for them is difficult, or finding quiet time for yourself is difficult, then you're doing them and yourself a really big injustice. Because we need to create a counter-culture attitude when it comes to doing versus being. We need to slow down our life enough so that we're not running all over the place, because we are missing the boat. We're missing out on what greatness can come from sitting and being. When we are so busy and we're so wrapped up, and I used to be the same way, even working in the church. My kids will tell, Dad, you are never home. You are seldom home. I remember you were at all our things, right? You came to all our sport activities and school activities, but you were never home when we were home. It was very rare that you were home. And my kids know this. And this is something because I came from that mentality, that cultural mentality that we have in the West that says you have to be doing, that productive people are good people and unproductive people, well, They're just not productive. And we label that. And we look at all of that, and we say to ourselves, we need to be busy, because the only way to be good in life and to be satisfiable in life and to be satisfied in life is to be busy, to be constantly filling my mind and my life with activity and doing. And we even do that as a Christian church does that. Like I'm very involved in the Christian church, and you can get so involved in studies, and you can get so involved in church activities, and so involved in evangelism and going out and doing and doing and doing. And we think that's what it's all about, because that's what Jesus did. Jesus went out and he did, and he preached and he healed everyone and never said no to anybody. Well, I got news for you. Jesus did say no to people. Because there was people who traveled probably for days to see Jesus Christ and get healed. And Jesus at one point would just say, okay, and off you go in a boat. Take off. He would take off into the desert for a quiet time to rejuvenate, to reconnect, to listen. Sometimes you have to hang a do not disturb sign on your life. You have to hang a do not disturb sign on your life. So anyway, let's get down to this. Let's get down to not being so busy. Let's get down to finding some way in your life that you can slow down. I'm not saying you don't have to participate in life. I'm not saying you don't have to be full of volunteer time. And I'm not saying that you can't work more than one job because you need the money. Your family needs you. They need to be fed. They need whatever, right? But if you're only working because you want another TV or you want something else that's going to fade away and pass away, that can burn away in life, right? Then don't miss the boat. Don't do an injustice in your life. Take the time. Be counter-cultural when it comes to this. When culture is telling you that you need to be active, you need to be busy, you need to be out there, you need to be doing, I'm saying no. It's time for you to change, to be counter-cultural in your awareness of your need for silence. Your body craves silence because it wants to talk to you. And you cannot hear it when you fill it up with the noise of activity. Anyway, yes, there it is today. Today's message. Slow down, okay? And I mean that nicely, of course, and I'm saying it with absolute love. You need to slow down in your life and take time, smell the roses. There's a reason that was said. You know, your body is craving that time. It's craving it. And the more activity you do, the less you realize your body's craving it. It's stuffing that craving. Anyway, if you want to live on the top, go to the bottom. This is Will Sinclair, and thank you so much for tuning in to The Real Truth About You. Do me a favor, if you're on iTunes listening to this podcast, then go and subscribe for me, would you? Or wherever you listen to this podcast on. Subscribe to it. Pass on the message to anybody else. And right now I'm also recording this on video, so welcome to anybody that's watching it on video. I'm using my iPhone, see how it works out. And if it worked out really well, you'll be watching it somewhere. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. This is Will Sinclair and The Real Truth About You. You can go to therealtruthaboutyou.com and get more episodes, downloads, and resources and information about how you can be your true amazing self. Anyway, remember, you are loved, you are loved, you are loved. And I love you tons. And you guys absolutely rock.